As a student of truth, you know that life does not just happen to you. It is not by whim or luck. In fact, you are the bringer of good into your life and the world through the work of your soul. As you study and apply spiritual principle, you will begin to align with the good God has for you. In our course, 7 Spiritual Laws of Release, we will learn 7 spiritual principles that were taught by the Master himself, Jesus Christ. Remember, dear friend, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Monday, June 7 at 7 p.m., we will study 7 spiritual laws of release. Register today at www.cynthiaaliceanderson.com.
Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 153, Dealing with Fear. And now your host, Reverend Cynthiaaliceanderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthiaaliceanderson. I am the host and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello everybody, this is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 153 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend and welcome to a brand new week.
Brand new week. Happy Monday, friends. Woo! Party down.
Yep.
The week is ahead of you, and we really want to be encouraging you, lifting you up in all that you're doing. I feel like I'm starting into the show already, but I'm kind of excited about this topic. Dave, why don't you go ahead and give the title?
Dealing with fear. Dealing with fear.
Yes, I didn't want to call it No Fear because we all deal with fear every single day. That's also a brand now, No Fear.
That's right.
Yeah. But I've talked to so many people and I'm sensing, even though, there's a little bit of, what's the word? Positive energy. There's some forward movement now in the world. People are not feeling quite as closed down. People still that I have spoken with, from all over the country, are saying, yes, we're hopeful and we're scared. We're scared. We're scared of the vaccine. We're scared of not taking the vaccine. We're scared of going back to work. We're scared of not going back to work. I'm scared of, what's going to happen when I'm not at home as much. And I'm thrilled to be out of my house. Every one of us probably has had some way of weighing all of the choices that we have coming up. And, many of us are already making them every day. I've certainly had to make some choices about travel or not travel, and somebody said to me, were you afraid to travel? And I said, no, I was not afraid to travel. Have you had the vaccine? No, but I was not afraid to travel. I said, I thought about it. I did all those things we're supposed to do. And it's not about the pandemic really only. I'm just using that as an example because fear is the thing that each of us is dealing with every single day. Fear is, our culture runs on fear. There was this line, I don't know if our listeners listen to the movie or have seen the musical or have seen the movie Rent, but there's a great line in there about fear. And a guy says, I'm a New Yorker. I live by fear. My life is fear or something like that. And friends, we can all tend to do that. So the topic today, dealing with fear, is something as humans that we all experience. It's something as humans we all have to deal with every day. If you're a parent, you have some fear about sending your child to school because of the violence in schools. If you are a child and your parent is in a nursing facility, there's fear about, are they going to make it out of there alive with the pandemic? In general, will I get to see them? There's fear is everywhere. Fear is everywhere. And so what I've noticed is if you let the fear get in there, then watch out, because fear running your show and running your decisions is bad. I'll just spiritually put, it's a really bad idea. It's a really bad idea. Usually we're in fear when we're in the emotions. All right. We're in fear usually when we're in the emotions. So if something comes up unexpected, that always triggers an emotional response, and fear kicks in, right? And often it's the fear of personal safety even, right? What is that going to mean for me? So, friend, the reason I'm speaking about fear is, again, I see it everywhere on social media. Everyone I talk to, I myself deal with my own fear. So we all have this as humans. And what I want you to remember is fear is not who you are. Fear is an emotional state. Fear is something that comes up. In the old days, when I was first learning some of these teachings, people would say, fear is false evidence appearing real. And I said, I don't know. That's kind of cheeseball. And then my friend said, no, it really means forget everything and run.
Yep.
I said, okay, that now maybe. So what is fear? Let's just pause for a moment. Just think about that. What is fear? I'll take a sip of coffee while you think about it. What is fear?
I'll join you.
Mm-hmm. I was right out of the gate with a lot of words. Well, to know fear, let's talk about its opposite. What is fear's opposite? Fear's opposite is love, of course. Love doesn't know fear. Fear is love's opposite. So what does this mean? Think about, just rest in that for a minute. So love frees, fear constricts. Fear holds back, fear worries, fear tightens, limits. Fear eliminates new possibilities. Fear stays in a corner. Fear debilitates. So, as a spiritual being, you've heard me say a million times, we're spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. All right. If this is the case, why do we go to fear? Well, we go to fear because I think it's all those years of our evolving as humans. Fear kept us alive. We used to, that reptilian brain that comes into play when we are in reaction mode, that aspect of the brain, that's how we stayed alive. So as we've evolved, and depending on how we grew up, if we grew up in circumstances that were unsafe, then we also apply those, to every life condition. So we can act as if all of life is an emergency and there is everything to fear. Or we can act as if everything in life, hear me, everything in life is a gift. How can I be blessed? How can I be blessed in this? So fear or love is the option. And there's hardly any in between that I know of. You're either one or the other. But what I've noticed, if I get into fear, all of my reasoning faculty shuts down. I think I'm in logic, but what I'm really doing is talking myself into a corner. Fear loves to argue. And of course, fear is the language of the personality, or as we lovingly say, the ego. The limited self. Fear is the mind of the limited self. And of course, fear tells us that we need to be careful. So if you were thinking of fear as, how do I survive? Fear was, oh my gosh, I have to look around and maintain safety. Well, there is a healthy amount of fear. I mean, you don't cross the street with cars coming. I've been really interested as the pandemic, when it was kicking up and there was talk about masks and people were saying to wear a mask was to be in fear. I said, well, somebody said, what do you think about that? I said, well, if that's true, then wearing a seatbelt is in fear. Not crossing the road when there are cars coming is fear. So that's called staying alive. So if you want to call that fear, I mean, yes, it's not smart to cross the road with lots of cars coming, and so I've heard, both sides of the argument about masks and the carbon,
Well, and fear is what drove like the toilet paper shortages.
Fear drove the
a little over a year ago, I mean, we, as Americans, we were literally standing in line for toilet paper. And I remember growing up as a kid making jokes about that. And here we are, I'll take whatever I can get. And it's only been within the last couple of months, that toilet paper is not felt scarce. I mean, I was like Googling bidets and all that kind of stuff. I was like, what kind of alternatives? I mean, and Amazon was sold out of bidets. And so, I mean, we had a plan in the house of what to do should we run out of toilet paper. And a lot of that was out of fear, because you see toilet paper shortages, you start seeing it on the news, and you go to the grocery store and it's that those aisles are picked dry. Like there's nothing left. There is no paper product at all.
I was going to say there's no paper towels now still either. I was like, I just want a paper towel in my kitchen.
Yeah. But that was, that was fear.
Yes, that was largely fear-based. Exactly. So, fear can work its way into any philosophy, which is what's interesting, because you can be in crazed fear and wear a mask, and crazed fear and not wearing a mask. It's not the mask that's the issue. And so friends, I really want to elevate the conversation we're all having right now, in general. Dave, that's the next show. Elevating the conversation. That's the one.
I will make a note of it.
That's the one we were talking about right before. So
say it one more time.
Elevating the conversation.
Elevating the conversation. You got it.
Yes. Friends, I love you whether you wear a mask or don't. I love you whether you're vaccinated or not. You've gotten the vaccine or not. I just think it's not all about that, friends. It's about your soul. And if we love and support one another at the soul level, we love and support all people for all, no matter what. It's so simple. So I wanted to talk about fear today because I'm mentioning this again. Every single person I talk to has had really huge bouts of fear in the last few months. And so it's so important to, one, know when we're there, to recognize it, and also move ourselves, out of it. Because if we stay in fear, we make really bad decisions. Fear will have us constricting. It'll have us limiting. It will have us, I see myself wanting to literally go backwards to something that I think was quote unquote safer. And, this is what fear does. It minimizes your power. It minimizes your spirituality. It minimizes your purpose. So fear is both limiting, it is demeaning, it is destabilizing. Fear is like a destroyer of worlds because of how it eats away at your purpose, at your passion. So it's got to be dealt with. Fear has got to be dealt with. I know people who've stayed in dead-end jobs out of fear, and a day after they retire have a heart attack and die. I know situations like that, friends. Think about that. That fear kept them in a job they hated for years. And then when they could finally do something, they had spent so long suffering that there was no more life to live. I mean, I know that sounds drastic, but the number of people I know that stay places they're not supposed to be out of fear. So fear is very, very limiting. And the goal, of course, if we're all human and we all feel it, is to not stay in it. And so what a lot of us do is we actually run from our fear. We pretend it isn't there. We get busy on our device. We go on social media. We run from it emotionally. We get in dead-end relationships. We gamble. We drink. We get addicted to various online activities. Some that are games, some that are X-rated. The sex addiction in the pandemic is off the charts. So we run from our fear normally. Few of us face it. But what's amazing is facing it is the only way to appropriately deal with our fear, facing it. So think about that. The only way to actually deal with your fear is to face it. And what most of us do is run. Some of us ignore our bills, the mailbox, our credit cards. We avoid them out of fear. We say, I don't want to open the envelope. And yet, the only way to win over fear is to do just that. It's crazy what we do to ourselves.
Yeah, Shannon and I we would not answer the phone. I mean, we would never answer the phone. It would go straight to the answer machine. This is before voicemail. It goes straight to the answer machine because creditors and those CD clubs. You used to be able to join for 10 CDs for $1, all that stuff. Oh yeah,
it sounded great at the beginning.
Yeah, BMG or Columbia House. Yeah,
yeah, BMG was the one I did. I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we were there. We wouldn't answer our mail and the phone and bills and all of that. And it really wasn't until we grew up and they're like, hey, we want to buy a house that we had to face all that and start cleaning it up.
Yeah, and I think it's a part of our development as humans. And yet, Dave, what you're describing, you're saying, yeah, it was when we were younger. There are a lot of people your age and older still doing that, and so. Friends, if we're saying that, we don't want you to feel shame about it, but what we want you to do is deal with it, We're saying it because we've done, we're all human. We've had times where we've let fear run our lives, and so how are we going to, deal with it now? Because it's like today is a new day. I work with a healer who said to me a few weeks ago, there's only 10 weeks the whole year, excuse me, when all the planets are not in retrograde. You know how we often talk about planets being in retrograde? She said there's only 10 weeks the whole year that all planets are not in retrograde, and we're about to have 9 in a row. Mm. So I said, well, what does that mean? I said, I'm not schooled on, on astrology. I honor it. I always sense its validity as it always seems to, inform my process. And I know I'm impacted, but I said, it's not an area I've studied. So I looked to people like you who are experts. She said, well, let me just explain it this way. Because of this time of clarity, it's a great time to set your intention. It's a great time to begin a new habit because it's a great time of manifestation and clarity. So that gave me a lot of hope that right now I can decide my future. See, friends, every moment that we're in is an opportunity to decide what's next for us. And, we often think into the future. What most of us do is catastrophize about what if this doesn't happen and what if that doesn't happen. There was a certain goal of mine recently I got a little wrapped around, and I was messing with my own head about it. And I took 50 breaths and all was well with the world. Sorry, where was I going? Oh, about setting your intention. So it's like sometimes we forget that every day is a new opportunity to set a new intention. We don't have to be stuck in what we did yesterday. You can decide today to make a new choice, a new intention, a new activity, a new idea, a new a practice, a new behavior. And it's easy to forget just how powerful we are in deciding the course of our lives. So think about it, friends. If you realize now is a really important time of clarity, of manifestation, what would you want your life to be about? You can decide today. You can decide today. And this is about anything, about your health, about your life, about what you want to be bringing into the world, about what you want to receive from the world. That's important too. So think about that for a moment. How is that, how is that feeling for you? If you're in fear, you're going to let that hold you back, right? So that's why I want you to get real clear about what you think is next for you, because we're going to come back in just a moment. And in the second half, we're going to talk more about how to move out of that fear and how to move forward on the journey. Okay, we'll be right back right after these brief messages.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partners, Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. And finally, we want to give a special word of thanks to Center for the Healing Arts. Center for the Healing Arts is one of the first dedicated group practices devoted to challenging, supportive, and nurturing therapy. Their dedicated therapists have a wide range of expertise, including relationship and couples therapy, individual therapy, addictions, neurofeedback, play therapy for children, adolescents, and families, and therapy for blended family issues. They also regularly offer day-long intensive workshops for relationships, addiction recovery, adult children of alcoholics, and healing trauma in the LGBTQ+ community. For more information, head over to centerforthehealingarts.com or call 407-657-8555, extension 1. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia_Alice_Anderson.
And welcome back. We're glad you're with us. I hope you've been thinking on the break about fear, how you've been dealing with it or not. Friends, sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves. It's like, okay, yes, I've been in fear. Okay,
You know where fear catches me sometimes?
Where?
Back pre-pandemic, like trying new restaurants. Like, I
remember that.
I won't try something new just because I don't like getting lost, try going somewhere new. And so going in and I don't know the wait staff, I don't know the layout, I don't know what the parking's like. What about seating and tables and all that? And so I would get really kind of anxiety about new things like that. And so, I would absolutely, it would keep me from trying new things, that fear. Yep.
Exactly. It keeps us from trying new things. And what I've noticed is if I'm in fear, whatever I'm making up is usually a lot worse than actual reality. I remember when I bought my new house, and I'm thrilled with my new home. I love it. I mean, it is more my home than any place maybe ever has been. I don't know why. I just know it is. But when I bought it, and I noticed in the kitchen, there was this really nice there were nice appliances and everything. Well, in the first week of living here, I had to replace the dishwasher.
Ooh.
And I looked at the dishwasher, and it was like it was like the most, supposedly the best in the world. And, so I called all these numbers to try to get repair people, and it was going to be a couple $100 just to get it looked at. And I finally said, and so I'm saying all this, friends, because I put it off because I thought, my gosh, I've just bought a house. I really don't want to buy now a dishwasher, the first thing. And I felt a little duped, by the former owners, anyway. So once I called a repairman to look at something else, and I said, what do you think? I said, I think I know what you're going to tell me, right? Just get a new dishwasher. And he goes, for what it's going to cost to repair this, get a new one that will last you 15 years and you'll never have a problem. Here's where to go. Here's who to talk to. And so the truth is, friends, in what first was making me feel like I did not have enough, why did this happen, to talking to like the right person, suddenly I felt like prosperous. I felt like I had all this choice. And I also felt I could get whatever I wanted to match my kitchen. And so in my mind, it was just, I made it so big. It was a hassle. Was I duped? Why do I have to deal with this? I just bought this new home. I love this place. I can't believe this. And then it was like, you just need to get out of your fear and deal with it. So as soon as I made the call, like the fear started to dissipate. So I wanted to talk about that this half, about how do we then not just deal with it, but manage and release, or move through. Because if you think you're going to live life without fear, now that is living in a spiritual la-la land, friends. You're not going to live life without fear. And I don't think I would even want to, because fear teaches us something. Fear tells us where our limits are. Fear has a purpose. Fear has a purpose.
Yeah, a lot of times it helps you to stay safe. I mean, there's a reason that,
Exactly.
If you hear a barking dog, and it's chasing you and growling, that's usually, this is a very angry animal. I should not be near it. Not
That's
all barking
exactly.
dogs, but just, what I mean.
Well, it can be. Yes,
I'm not
exactly.
hating on dogs.
No, but that should get your attention. Exactly. And so fear really, friends, is here to serve us. The problem is, if we are coming up, bumping up against our comfort zone, fear always comes up because it's something we don't know. And again, as Dave is saying, and I was exactly starting to say that very same thing, Dave, that fear can actually serve us. We should have some fear about, just leaving a job we've been in for 20 years. There should be, I went through that in leaving my last position. I loved the position. It was just time for me to go. But did fear come up? Well, of course it did, for a time. And then I would move through it. And then it would come up in the next stage. And then I would move through it. So that's what I want you to know, is fear is a part of the curriculum. I've said it many, many times. Every time you start to grow, yes, everything unlike it comes up. And when it comes up real big, remember we talked about months, maybe a year or so ago, that's called second force. That can be that second force of saying, are you sure? So this is really helpful, because frankly, sometimes we may not be ready for the next step. So fear does serve us, but I want to give you a few steps on how to work through it, how to deal with it, how to sit with it, really. And I talk about this in my book, Prosperity for You. That is, I think, still available on Amazon. And my other books, I'm going to do a promo next month. So you'll hear more about my 7 spiritual laws of release. By the way, that's available on my site as well. But I wanted to talk specifically about how to move through the fear, and how to deal with it. And in my book, Prosperity for You, what I was talking about it in relation to prosperity, that rather than avoid your mailbox, go ahead, go to the mailbox, get the bill, and open it up. Then at least you know what you have to deal with. So, in my really benign example of my little dishwasher problem, when I was thinking about it, I had to go, well, what is bothering me about this? I was kind of stressed out because I just moved and there was a lot going on. And I thought, this should not be a stress. obviously I'm going to need a new dishwasher. So what am I going to do about this? It just took a minute of just like, first I had to like really check reality. So hear me, or you could call it this way. I had to do a reality check. What's really going on? What's really going on? Like, what is the reality of this situation I am in fear about? What is the reality of this situation I'm in fear about? What is the reality? And you can contact that wonderful part of the body called the brain and let logic help you. A lot of times we talk about the ego not being helpful, on the spiritual journey. But the truth is, and Donna Bevan Lee talks a lot about this in some of her work on her show, she'll say, well, you have a logical mind, use it. Logic is wonderful. So you can go, well, do I have enough right now? Am I in my home? You can do a reality check about what's really going on. So after you do that, then the next thing is you just kind of have to be with it for a second. Running from fear will keep you exhausted, and it will keep you afraid, and it will keep fear running your life, most definitely. Fear, when sat with, dissipates. Not instantly, but usually very, very soon, fear begins to dissipate when you sit with it. It's like you go, what is really going on? What's the reality check? I'm just going to go, why am I so cranked out of shape about this? Like, what is the reality? It's like, is there something to fear? Okay, well, if there is, I need to make a new choice then, if there really is. And if there's not, well, then I need to unwind this a little bit and get in reality. And sometimes, friends, I've noticed for me that the two things I do when fear hits, well, there's maybe three, but the first two I'm going to give you are real strong ones for me, is to just breathe through the fear. And anybody who's worked with me long knows, I have this really beautiful morning practice I do, and it involves journaling, it involves, affirmation and speaking, all that. But what I've learned is, even though that's a great spiritual process, if I don't do some type of meditation or deeper breathing, I can get in fear very easily. And so, my accountability partner helped me with this, because he does this as part of his practice as well. I will take 50 extremely long, deep breaths, and no fear yet has been able to survive 50 deep breaths. It's crazy how that works. And when I say deep breaths, I mean, I'm lying down, I breathe in as deeply as is humanly possible, I hold it, and then release it. And I do that 50 times in a row. And what I can tell you is, the first 10 breaths are so difficult. The next 10 get easier. And by the time I get to 30, I'm blissed out. And by 50, I can do anything. I just know those are like the benchmarks. The first 10, I know I'm going to still be in my head, because I'm still trying to release out whatever is going on in my mind. But by 30, wow, bliss, baby. I am telling you, fear cannot survive 50 deep breaths. It can't. Kenny Werner says, to find the space, even an American can do it. You put a beer in one hand and a pork chop in the other, and you can still do it. Just breathe for 20 seconds. But for me, it takes longer. It takes longer than 20 seconds. For me, it takes probably at about 20, I'm finally releasing the fear, and 30 is a dream, man. 30 is killer. 50, wow, I can do anything. Life is good. The universe loves me. I am on purpose. I am excited about life. I am ready to go. That's at 50. At 10, I still know nothing. So, these are like just simple practices that cost you nothing. Just do the breath work. Now, as I say this, I want to make a real point that what we all seem to do is we think if I can just call this person or that person and talk about it, it'll be better. Usually that makes it worse. I mean, yes, talking to a trusted therapist or friend is one thing, but just to call people and gossip about how bad you feel, I wouldn't do that. What I would do is see how you feel, get in reality, and breathe. Breathe. Just being with the fear, it starts to dissipate. Fear acts like a big bully in your consciousness. And usually, the closer you get to really being on purpose, the bigger the fear gets. The bigger the fear gets. So, what I want you to hear me say again, and I want to say it again and again during this show, fear is normal. Fear is a part of the curriculum, but you don't have to stay there. I hope you heard me banging on my desk. You don't have to stay there. Don't let fear run your show. If you're in fear, you're in the emotions of the personality and the ego, limited self. Fear is an annihilator. Love is its opposite. So there's something about the power of the breath that I'll always be grateful for. You know, the scriptures say God breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, right? That's in the very beginning of scripture. And so, you know, traditions all over the world have some activity of a deeper breathing to reach an enhanced, almost trance state. In other words, a higher level of consciousness. And so that's what I believe happens when we do this deeper breathing. We contact something bigger than ourselves and yet is connected to us as well. So, and fear desperately tries to keep us from this more spiritual self. Fear keeps us from this more spiritual self. So we want to deal with it appropriately. We want to put fear in its proper place where it serves us, not we serve it. Like Dave said, fear has its place, most definitely. But if it doesn't know its place, it's like a big bully, and pretty soon it's getting our lunch money and everything else. Yeah, fear is like a big bully. So I want you to really think about, and I hope you have been as we're talking about, like, what are the like small kind of insidious ways you're letting fear in to sidetrack your process? Is it in your financial life? Is it in your emotional life? Where is fear getting in? Is it even in your medical decisions? Like, where is fear getting in? Where is fear getting in? You know, years ago, several years ago now, how many years has it been? 2 or 3 years, I guess, when I got my tattoo. And I remember before getting one, everybody was talking about how much it was going to hurt when I got a tattoo. And I'd been wanting one for a long time. And the only thing that was really keeping me from it was fear, I realized. And that was when I knew I had to do it. And so when I was talking to the guy who was going to do my tattoo, he was sitting there working on this young girl. She was about 21 or 22. And I thought, if she can do it, I'm tough. I can do this. So anyway, so I sat down and the guy started working on my arm. And I said, he said, "You doing okay?" I go, "Yeah, I'm fine. Is everything okay?" And he goes, "You're done." You know, it was so quick because it was so small. You know, it was just my one little word. And that was so important for me to overcome that little fear. It's so see, it's like fear like wants to hijack these little things. Like I'd wanted like a tattoo for 10 years or longer. And I finally did it. It's like a little thing. It was like, this is my body. This is the message I want on it. It's one word, it's gratitude. And that's what I needed. So friends, don't let fear hijack you and your process. So just think about, how am I dealing with fear? Am I running from it? Am I letting it kind of work its way into my life? Because I want you to know that, what really moves us forward in life is fear's opposite, which is love. The power of love is miraculous and certainly bigger than any fear, but we have to let love have its way. We are the deciders of the direction of our lives and of our consciousness, and it is we who are the gatekeepers. It is we who are the gatekeepers of our own thoughts, of our own feelings, even our emotions. So I want to encourage you, if you find yourself stuck in fear, also to not to be alone in that. If you need help, reach out to a friend, reach out to us, set up an appointment with me. That's what I'm for. Set up, contact a therapist or a friend or a minister who, if you can't get yourself out of it, get some help getting out of it. We don't want you being alone in that. And also know there's nothing wrong with getting help and support. And you can do this. You can check in with yourself. You can get in reality. And if for some reason you get stuck, reach out and get help. Somebody who can understand these spiritual ways and therapeutic ways to move you out of fear and into love. So we want you to be able to check out reality, to breathe, be with what's happening. And then as that fear releases, to move forward into love, right? So this is our prayer for you. So, friend, as you go throughout your day, we want you to know we're here for you. And one of the reasons we do the daily affirmations, I'll tell you, I spent hours recording those. And even though they're only 1 minute, we've got so many affirmations pre-recorded. We've got months pre-recorded. I sat for a couple days and got into a prayer space and just recorded affirmations. They're for you and only you. They're for you so that when you start your day, you can start from a place of connection and love rather than fear. So no, we hope you take us with you as you go throughout your day. We're here for you on the journey. And if there's a way we can support you better, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Okay? So blessings on the journey, dear friend. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Many blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 Cynthia_Alice_Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.